Welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor, and welcome to another Chit Chat Get Ready With Me. Today is Saturday, and I want to get a lot done. I decided to kind of take a slow morning, called my mom and my sister and just like talked with them for a bit. That was super nice. I want to do some filming today. I just need to kind of figure out what to film and how to film. I have some like ideas rattling in my noggin about like some fun like reel ideas to do to like post on Instagram and stuff. I think once I get my makeup done, I can figure it out a little bit more. I want to do a tutorial today, which may or may not happen. It might get pushed till tomorrow. It's so hard. I always have like so much planned for a weekend, and then I get to the weekend and then I'm like basically like debilitated. Like I'm so tired from the week. I'm like, oh, let me just, you know, relax. Like I deserve to relax. And it's like, yeah, I do. But also I got things I want to do. I got books I want to read and videos I want to film and dreams to chase. I got a lot done yesterday, thankfully, and so now it's just going to be a day of me trying to get things done today. I'm all alone this weekend, just me, myself, and I. Which kind of nice. I like having the apartment to myself for like filming and stuff, because I just like do not want anybody to ever hear me talking to the camera. That just like freaks me out, the thought of that. I need to wash these. How is everyone doing? What books are everyone reading? I'm trying to finish a few more books before June ends, because I think I've only read four books this month, and I've been averaging around 8 to 10 per month, but I was so sick. And then I did read Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home, and that book is just like a thickie boy. It is so big and so thick, so it just like took me a while to read that one. And then I also just finished The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan and the Heroes of Olympus series. And let me tell you, it's taking everything in me to not go to the library and check out the second book. I want to read it so bad, but it will be available soon on my Libby, and I have other books that I'm reading. I don't need to go get that book. I started The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, finally, this week, and I am flying through it. Like, I'm so in love with that book. I'm just like continuously impressed with Suzanne Collins. I need to reread The Hunger Games so badly. The writing is just so seamless in Songbirds and Snakes. I also love the parallels between like Lucy Gray and Coriolanus. I think that it is really powerful to have like, you know, you have Lucy Gray is district, and obviously Snow is capital, but they both have like food insecurity problems, and like he's learning that, you know, they're not so different, but obviously we know what happens. I love the way that we just get this understanding of him, but we're not supposed to really feel sympathy for him, because it's not like he ever really was like a super good person. I don't know. I also love the movie. If you're gonna look at this man and tell me that like he isn't fine, sorry to be thirsty on Maine, but oh my goodness, he's just so cute. He's so handsome. And I also think that that was like a good choice, because in the book it's told from obviously Snow's point of view, but third person. Snow is an attractive person. Like he's not ugly, creepy, you know, whatever. He's an attractive dude. So, I don't know, I'm just like swooning over this book. Not the character of Snow, but primarily the book. I've been like annotating and highlighting, and I'm just like so obsessed, and it's making me even more excited for Sunrise on the Reaping, whichever one is coming out next year in March. I really think that's going to be a good one. I don't know, anything Suzanne Collins writes. I think that she really is a true like dystopian writer. I don't know, I think it's just hard after all of the Hunger Games copycats came out, and now so many things within like newer fantasy books are like, oh, it's Hunger Games-esque, like there's a trial and they're fighting till the death, and it's like the whole point is that they're making a social commentary. That's why these things are happening. Whereas at least some of the copycats that came out in like the early 2010s, it kind of just felt like things were happening for the sake of happening. And that's not accurate as to, you know, why things were happening in the Hunger Games. I don't know. I need to read Powerless by Lauren Asher, right? Laura Roberts, I believe. I know that the second book is coming out soon, like I think July 2nd. And I want to read it, but I'm kind of sick of hearing people say that it's Hunger Games-esque when it is clearly like a fantasy romance. I don't know, some people just kind of are like, well, Hunger Games should have been more romantic and all this stuff, and it's like, that's not the point of the book. I'm so sick of everything having to have a romance in it. I was watching a video by a booktube creator that I do like, but I don't want to drop names. She read The Cruel Prince and said she was really disappointed that there wasn't more romance. And I guess I don't know whether or not that's marketed as a fantasy romance, but I would not consider that a romance book by any means of the word. And it's really hard because I don't blame her if she was told this, not at all. It's just very frustrating that it's like, it feels like every book has to have some sort of romantic element in it, or else people don't see it as like a valid use of their time to read. And then it makes me wonder, why do we yearn for romance so much in everything? It feels like I said, it feels like there's nothing without romance. And I was reading The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. There are like very light elements of romance, but it's more like they're in high school and someone's got a crush on somebody else and the other one finds them pretty and whatnot. So it's like really juvenile stuff, you know. But one of our main characters talks with Aphrodite. And I thought there was this line in the book, I can't remember it verbatim, but she talks about how love is like the most powerful force ever. Like it drives people to do insane and crazy things, which I think is so true. And I thought that that was like a really powerful line to be in like a juvenile. Ooh, oh no, I just like gouged out part of my highlighter there. Oops. I thought that that was such like a good line, and I feel like, you know, as a child I probably wouldn't fully understand that, but as an adult, because they're talking about it kind of in the context of like Helen of Troy and how obviously the Trojan War was fought over her. And I mean, I think that that kind of goes to my question, you know, why is there romance and everything? But then I also want to question, because I saw a reel once by a man. This young man was like, isn't it sad that men want to dog on women for reading romance novels, as if women fantasizing about a man taking care of them and being nice to them is the most foreign idea. And so then I'm like, girly pops, are we okay? Like, if you were in a relationship, are you good? Is everything okay? Because, like, I know sometimes when I was in relationships, I would read romance books to feel like somebody was treating me nice. Are we okay? Romance books are not a substitute for your less than stellar relationship. That's not me making a sweeping thing. I'm just asking questions here. Genuinely, I am just asking questions. I'm not trying to like pass judgment or, you know, say everyone who reads romance books is in a bad relationship, because that's dumb. That's super stupid. But like, I do think we want to ask ourselves, you know, why do we feel the need to have romance and everything? Because I do think that relationships are like very much a center point in society, and I think, you know, they are important and all these different things, but like, I am curious, like, why does everything kind of feel like it has to revolve around romance? And I know we've all seen the comments recently on some people's like book talk videos, and they're like, well, if there's no spice in it, I'm not reading it. What does that mean, and why do you feel that way? Are you satisfied? You good? Like I said, I'm just asking questions here. I'm not trying to pass judgment. I am not somebody who is like an expert in any of this sort of stuff. But I don't think there's anything wrong with looking into why we like the things we like, why we want to read the things we want to read. Anyway, so I went to the bookstore a couple days ago and Books A Million was having a buy one get one 50% off sale. So I did end up buying a few books because obviously I had to. But I mean, I guess the only reason I ended up buying books was because I saw that they had Magnolia Park's Into the Dark on the buy one get one 50% off counter. And I was like, I do need that book. I am eventually going to be reading it, if not soon, because I do plan on like absolutely binging Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. So I know that like I'll get to, you know, the next Magnolia Parks pretty soon. But then to get the 50% off, you obviously had to buy 2 books. And so I got Happy Place by Emily Henry. And I don't know why. That one just kind of called to me. I was between that and The 7-Year Slip by Poston. I know Poston's the last name. I can't remember the first name. I want to say it's Ashley. But so I got those 2 books and I was like, okay, I'm good. Well, I'm a lifelong journaler. I have been journaling since I was a young child. And I recently ran out of pages in my journal and I'm using a different notebook that I had purchased a while ago when I was in Ohio for work. And I like it, but I just know that I'm going to go through it really fast. So I went over and was looking at the journals and I found this beautiful white leather journal with like an ivy vine on it, and then it had sprayed edges with ivies on it, like ivy leaves. I had to get it. It was $40, but it says it was handmade in Italy. Was it a lot of money for that? Yes, but with coupons and everything, so I have the Books A Million membership, so I get 10% off everything. And then I also had I think it's $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. So I also had that. So I think it ended up being around $32, $33. So that's not bad. And then I also ended up getting the, what's it called? Binding 13. It's the first book in the Boys of Tommen series. I've just been seeing so much good about it, mostly because I watch Destiny Sidwell's reading vlogs and stuff, and she just raves about these books. And I'll be honest, like, I really didn't know if they would be for me, because every time that she talks about them, it's also followed by, check your trigger warnings, and I'm like, oh my gosh, especially because I know that it is marketed towards young adults. And so I was like, what is this book? So I know that I could have read it for free on Kindle Unlimited, but those are like chunky boys. And then when I looked at the physical copy in Books A Million, I saw that it had name pronunciations and like a glossary for like slang, because it's set in, I think, Ireland or Scotland. And I was like, oh, okay, so like having that honestly will be easier than trying to flip back and forth on my e-reader. But then also I can just like, if I want to just take my e-reader somewhere, I can still read it if I want to. But I really did like though, so I bought that as well. And then I also bought some annotation pens because I have been annotating Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but my Sharpie S-Gel pens are too thick for the pages, if I'm being honest. I don't know what millimeter those are, but they're too thick. So I was like, well, Books A Million should have some annotation stuff. They should have some thin pens, shouldn't they? They did. They had a 2-pack. It's a 0.5 millimeter. They're so thin. And I'm in love. I'm in love. I'm a changed woman. For annotating, they're perfect. I also have been using my mild liners that I bought as like markers for my bullet journal. I've been using them a lot for highlighting and stuff in books, and I kind of like matching my highlighter to the book. So like for Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I'm only highlighting in green and then using like green tabs and stuff. It's so fun. I'm having a great time. But so I got Magnolia Park's Into the Dark, Happy Place by Emily Henry, and then Boys of Tommen 1. I believe it's called Binding 13. So I kind of broke my book buying ban, but it was for a good reason. I even called my mom and told her, and she agreed with me. Well, and so I looked up the trigger warnings for Binding 13, and I didn't find them to be too much for me. I just wish that it had trigger warnings in the book. I think that it's, with how much extra that this author clearly did, I'm not exactly sure why they didn't include a list of trigger warnings. I think trigger warnings in books can help people decide whether or not they want to choose to consume that content. I really do think that people should be able to consent to what they're seeing or what they're going to be reading, because I think that if a book includes topics like all the things that YouTube would not want me to say on camera, you know, I think that if they want to add in those topics but then don't want to put them in a trigger warning because they would be spoilers, you're using these things for shock value and honestly almost like trauma porn. And I don't like that. I think that is like, I think that's kind of gross personally. There is an author's note at the beginning of the book before you start that says that the mature content in the book makes it more suitable for like people ages 16 and up, and I think that that is a really good way to kind of like show that this book is for teenagers. It's for older teenagers, and older teenagers can still be interested in things like sex and, you know, sexuality and things that, you know, they're trying to explore and learn about themselves and the world around them. I feel like if you try and keep them in like a very sheltered mindset, or, you know, I think that there are certain things that, you know, is appropriate for them to and not to know, but I also think that them wanting to be curious and exploring them within the confines of a book. I haven't read this book yet, so like I'll check back on what I think, but I think exploring them within the contents of a book that is written for someone around their age range, rather than going to something like the Twisted series by Anna Huang, where the characters are consenting adults and they do engage in very intense things. I think having more mature content that can still be written for an older young adult audience is important, and maybe something that, you know, we're missing a little bit more. Because I think, especially being like, as I was a teenage girl once myself, it can be kind of difficult to figure out where we're supposed to be like reading from. I can't speak on, you know, teenage boys or anything because I'm not one, but at least as like a teenage girl, that's what I think. Because some people don't get, you know, sex education from their parents, but or maybe even from their schools, but there should be a safe way for them to learn about those things that isn't in a book that's like just about those things. Like I've seen a lot of people talk I'm on quite a few Facebook groups for like readers and stuff, and there are moms who are asking like, hey, my daughter's 14, she wants to read Icebreaker, should I let her? And people are like, a lot of people are like, that's an adult book, like no, but you know, here's an age appropriate romance novel that might explore similar things without the intensity, because Icebreaker is about college students, it's about adults. Like you do need to be careful with what your children consume, and I admire these parents for like saying something and asking the questions and feeling like having the online communities to be able to, you know, ask. I know that some of the way I'm talking might make it seem like I'm into maybe like book banning or something. Do not get it twisted. I am not for book banning at all. I'm just for children reading age appropriate books that they are ready to read, and obviously at the end of the day it does come down to a parent's discretion on whether or not they think their child is ready to read a book. An example of this from my own life, my mom didn't let me read Twilight. Twilight came out in like 2005, 2006, and obviously it depicts like high school students. Obviously, I know Edward's supposed to be like 109 or something, but Bella is 17 when the story starts. And, like, it's not a good relationship. It's not. And I think I was in 5th grade. My mom wouldn't let me read it because it depicted a very controlling relationship. And for someone as young as I was, 5th grade, I think I was 11, she was like, I just don't want my young daughter to read that and think that that's okay. And, you know, I'm sure other people will say, you know, well, she could have had a conversation with you and then you could have read it. But also, like, it's done. It doesn't matter. I didn't read the book then, but I love those books now. I love them for what they are. I know that they are not literary masterpieces by any means, but it's a good time. It's like a comfort novel for me. And that was my mother's choice, and I respect it because there were a lot of other things that I was able to read, because Twilight is for a teen audience. It was not for my little 5th grade tween self. Like, I remember in 5th grade people reading Breaking Dawn and talking about how Bella and Edward got married and how they, you know, did the deed. They consummated their marriage. And I was just like, oh my god, people read that? And like, obviously now reading the books, it's a fade to black, which also appropriate for a teen novel. But I was just like, what? I was like so confused. And like, obviously other people can do what they want. I don't care what other people do. I don't care what other parents do with their children. I'm not one to pass judgment. This is just what I think, and I think my mom made the right decision when I was a kid, especially for me. I'm a very feely person. Like, I've always been a very deeply feeling person, and so something like that could have, you know, potentially messed with my psyche a little bit, but we'll never know, because I read it in high school. I remember being at the library and texting my mom. I was 16, and I was like, hey, do you think I could like read Twilight? And she's like, oh yeah, you're definitely old enough now, like, sure, I don't care. And she read all the books too. My mom read the books, therefore she knew that she didn't want me reading them at such a young age. But once I was old enough, she was like, oh yeah, whatever, that's fine. Did not expect this to become a rant about books, but yeah. Here's the finished makeup look. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Leave a comment down below on what your favorite book was when you were a kid. My favorite book when I was a kid was probably Warrior Cats Into the Wild, if you ever read those before. I, to this day, still love those books. I have them in my bedroom right now. But I will thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.